This episode is sponsored by Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle.
The year is 1888, and we find ourselves in the far-flung corner of the United States, called the Pacific Northwest, in the two small towns of Seattle and Ballard. Under rainy gray skies and among the giant old-growth pine forests, there are secrets hiding, invisible to most people, except for those with the second sight. Join us for a new actual play podcast called Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. My name is Brian Kershaw, and I'll be your host and game master for this trip into a supernatural Seattle, where my friends and I will be playing a role-playing game called Fossum. Our show is a mixture of comedy and horror, and we would love for you to join us. You can find episodes at spiritsandmonsters.com, or follow and subscribe for new episodes every other Wednesday on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. We can't wait for you to join us.
Good evening, travelers of the night. Welcome back to The Stranger, where the immersion of an audio drama meets the chaos and uncertainty that is Dungeons and Dragons. Today, we are joined by Ari as Esperanza.
Tired, wired, ready to go. Let's do this.
Asteria as Dr. Isadora Glass.
Are you a Jacques Lacan or a Jacques Leconte?
Matt as Nihilus.
Hello. Embrace the fear and find your courage within.
And Shane as Trevor.
An overjoyed, underemployed good old boy amongst a void he'd perhaps rather avoid.
And last but not least, our favorite recurring guest, Kyle as Vander.
Oh, the Citadel. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Without further ado, let's get in to this last episode of the season. Or maybe not. The dice will decide. Esperanza. You hear crunching beneath your boots. A sound that contrasts the hollow gusts of wind. The air is heavy, it's thick in your lungs, and carries with it the sharp, acrid tang, the unmistakable burn of salt. You lick your dry lips, the taste is putrid yet spoiled, and as you lean forward over the puddle before you, you see your reflection, though a grotesque scar now sprawls from your temple to your chin, a labyrinth horror that fades to the image of a campfire that you remember well. Moments or the day before heading to the salt mines, you did something with the rest of your allies. Something very important. What was that?
When I felt relief for the first time in a long time. That's right. I threw them in the fire. All of them, and I let them help me. And I swore it off. I chose to stop it.
And how long has it been? Do you remember?
It had to have been weeks this time. It had to have been weeks since I left Bluebrook with Mr. Augie. But it's strange because it feels like it blurs together with the last time I was on it for over a decade. It feels so familiar to me that it's hard to tell what it's like when I'm sober.
As you look up from this puddle, you remember this place. It's the Citadel. It's the same Citadel that you had seen in a vision when you were sitting upon her royal rose. And as you look up from the puddle, the city around you rises from a haze. A monument to desolation. The fog from the saturation hangs low. A haunting wind casts its way through the desolate buildings. The graveyard of thousands who were caught in this round of the saturation. Their hollowed skeletons encased in salt. The skeletal remains of what was once a bustling city. What do you do?
The first thing that I'm going to look for is up towards the spire at the center. Because last time I looked, there were some very interesting things going on there. And I want to know if that is still happening.
Last time you looked, you saw shimmering white light and black void intermixed with one another. A image that was unrecognizable. But you don't see that this time. Instead, you see what was previously a scarred and mangled spire is a cylindrical black obelisk, completely undamaged by the years that it protruded from this mountain.
Does this obelisk happen to be smooth, naturally roughened, and slightly oddly shaped, or does it have similar imagery on it to a different obelisk that I've seen?
Its size, its diameter, is similar to that of the diameter of a room you remember well. It could be the outer wall. Maybe this is what it used to be.
I need to look for him. The man who we saw in the salt wastes. The man who's keeping our friends.
Approaching the spire, the slick, smooth black surface reflecting this different version of yourself. A single dark archway. You walk past the spot where you remember seeing that hollowed form of Dr. Glass looking towards the entrance and to the central lift, which is perfectly intact. In fact, doesn't run with cogs and gears, but instead a solid, dark disc that seems to float up and down. An older or newer technology, but not like anything you've seen before.
It's another piece of otherworldly strangeness in a span of 24 hours where I have seen so much strangeness. It practically doesn't even faze me. And I walk onto the disc.
It moves briskly all the way to the top of the spire. You see the king's chair that in a past vision was occupied by Valadin or Luminoth, but even that is vacant. However, you see a round staircase in the center, not one that was there last time, that seems to go to a final floor that no longer exists within the new building that you've seen in past visions.
There is nowhere to go but up.
You head up. And when you arrive, you see that room, that center obelisk that depicts all that is to be and that has been. And something's different this time. There is a fleeting image that's just about to crest the top. As time passes, so does that imagery of a depiction of action fade up to the top of this room. And the last thing you see, that last image that seems to be about to fade away when nothing else exists, no more passage of action or time, is you. You who are standing with bodies that extend for miles. All that your eye can see sees death. And as you look down from this image, you see the stranger, the man you were looking for, with a dagger in his chest, dead before you.
I'm going to reach into my pack, just in case I'm mistaken. And I want to see if I have the orb.
You reach into your pack, and when you say just in case you're mistaken, what are you worried about?
I don't think I'm truly awake right now. If I were, I know I don't have it. But if I'm not awake, that means maybe I can make sure that I do.
You see the orb in your pack. As you open it and you look inside, it's at the bottom. And as you put your hand inside and go to grab it, out comes a vial of slow ether.
My hand is going to grab it, and with as little physical contact as is possible, I fling it off to the side.
It crashes against the wall, the liquid dripping down. You reach back in for the orb, and you grab another vial of slow ether.
Throw it to the side.
It's slow ether. Every time you reach in, it's slow ether.
Tip the bag upside down and shake it.
You see piles of them all crashing to the floor, glass breaking before you. Just an infinite pour of this drug.
Don't want it. I don't need it. I have no use for this anymore. Just throw the satchel towards the stranger's body. He can have it for
The satchel crashes against the wall, and you're left alone in this room with, quite frankly, nothing left. Not even that stranger survives this. But you feel as though you do. Alone, at the top of the tower, in an empty city, littered with bodies.
in a place that may be there in the future of this city, or it was there in the past, so really, where am I to have survived it? When am I?
As you look towards the outer wall, it's as if the obsidian fades and you can see the distance of the island, and all you see is a coating of salt crystal and clouds that hang low, and nothing else. We're going to go somewhere else. As Trevor, Dr. Glass has been thrust through space to just outside of the sewer drain. However, you look first towards Esper, who, in this moment, is in the fetal position, leaning against the corner of one of the excrement-covered walls. She doesn't look present. You look towards Nihilus, who with his last bit of energy has thrust Dr. Glass to safety. But he keeps looking down towards the skull, glancing at it with this fear on his face. You see moonlight cast from the sewer drain. You see Dr. Glass's heel just over the sewer grate. And of all this chaos that happened so quickly, you're not even sure when everybody got lost here. You look towards Vander, who's holding Abigail. And Vander, you and Abigail are here as you see she's running out of air.
A shudder spills out of Trevor's mouth as he's taking stock. What? We gotta go. We gotta do something. He is going to start walking over to Esper and try to rouse her.
She's in her own world right now. She's seeing something. You've seen her like this before, but it's never lasted this long.
Just giving her a shake, trying to figure out, assess, comes to a quick conclusion. And he's going to grab Esper by the wrist and just try and get her into his arms, immediately turning over to Nihilus and just saying, Nihilus, just calling out to him.
Nihilus, you see the skull. As you look down, it looks at you. It gazes you, it weighs you. You can't help but feel these palpitations in your heart as you feel as though you're carrying something of immense weight. And you're having trouble in this moment, and I would need a intelligence saving throw. And that save is going to be a DC of 22.
Go! Nihilus pierces his eyes at this skull. It weighs it. It's so difficult, but he must resist. There's a goal towards it, a mission. He doesn't have time for this. And with the clearance of his mind, with Saurus' teachings, he remembers what needs to be done as he gets a total of 25.
Nihilus, looking down towards this skull with a 25, you aren't pulled. You are instead propositioned. You can tell you have the option to resist. And if you did, you would resist successfully. However, this skull has been beckoning you all this time. It's been taking your spells and abilities and warping and twisting them. You are a smart man, and you recognize this. Though its gift won't always be there for you. You see your skeletal companion longingly looking through that entryway to the salt mines, and you feel as if your manager has called you into a meeting that if you miss it, you'll be fired. You feel as though you have the option to resist. Now, in terms of your connection to Saurus, at this point, it's fleeting. The book has disintegrated, but there is still a glimmer of light. What that gives you is hope as an inquisitor. However, it does not grant you the promised power of the skull. So, with a 25, instead of being compelled, I will leave it to you. Do you answer the beckoning of your new master?
Nihilus hears Trevor. He can't dare to refuse to look away from the skull. He doesn't respond physically. He's in torment, he's in questioning. He has to answer, but no. I picked you up. I started this. I am more than just a tool to be used, a power. I've trained meticulously. I have connected the dots. I still believe in Saurus. We will either have a partnership or nothing at all. Mordecai, I refuse.
The eyes of the skull become hollow again, an inanimate object of bone, and just as ubiquitous as every other skull you've seen in the past. As the echoes of Trevor's voice shake your mind awake, and you see his calls towards you.
We gotta go.
We do. There was something coming after Dr. Glass. What is happening to us? We have to get out of here. And he will try to take a step forward, but even though the weight of the skull is gone, he feels weak, he feels drained, like he had an eternal struggle of hours instead of this short fight. Vanda, got to go.
Well, let's get a move on then. Class is waiting upstairs. We got to go now.
The breath is becoming ever so shallow with Abigail. Now, I will note, to carry Esper, it would be regular walking speed, but you wouldn't have usage of your hands.
Gotcha. Okay. Keeping her close. He looks down at Dr. Glass's shoe before turning his head up, looking up at the moonlight. Going to Vander. At this point, Vander's the only person that he really relies on to know what's happening, or if not to know what's happening, to know what to do next, at least. So he goes up and approaches him as quickly as possible and just says, I'm behind you, alright? You said Glass is up there?
I can barely make her out from here, but yeah, I think she's up there. I think Nihilus did something. I'll go on ahead. I'll try to get the grate open.
Okay, I'm right behind you.
You run through the sewer up to the grate. You have to put Abigail down for a moment to lift it, and I need you to roll an athletics check. This is going to be a DC of 19.
I got a 21.
Vander, the adrenaline of the fading heartbeat of your closest companion is all you feel right now. Your vision is red and blurred around the edges, and with all of your might, with every muscle in your body, you pick up this grate that to most people would be an impossible feat. All of you see Nihilus and Trevor as Vander, in his desperation, picks up and moves the grate aside. You can run now. You can climb out. and you can find help. Though, the nature of that help will be determined by a history check for which ally or past engagement you would remember to take Abigail to. The DC 5 or below is a bad outcome. 6 to 14 is a decent outcome. And 15 and above is a good outcome. Abigail's life hangs in the balance.
That is a 10.
Penny pays for a failed doctor to help him and his goons. And failed is good enough, perhaps, for the type of help that Abigail needs, because it's not a true professional that is needed to cure Salt Lung. It's just somebody with the appropriate drugs. And so as you pick yourself up, you can run in that direction. You know the way from this grate because you've used it before. Trevor, do you follow?
Yes, absolutely.
With Esper over your shoulder, you run along. Nihilus, do you follow?
Certainly. As he brings in his bat-like fiend to join as well.
It swoops up from the sewer grate and flies along your shoulder.
Guys, in a dire situation, I can't carry her. I'll stay behind. Here, take Auritulius Noctifora. We'll be able to meet up later.
Alright. Look, Nihilus, I give him the basic directions that I know how to get to this doctor.
Go!
Okay.
You run, with Abigail being held, with Esper being held. With Trevor, you run to get Abigail help. Nihilus stays behind, and Dr. Glass, you feel that room, the void, the darkness that Esper had entered. Though you don't physically float in the space, you feel yourself in it. And in this moment, you, with as much self-knowledge and understanding as you can muster, I need you to roll an insight check with a DC of 10.
That was 2 on the die, so 11. 11 insight.
Dr. Glass, you recognize, having encountered desperation, you recognize something about yourself right now, which is you carry a great amount of power, a terrifying amount of power, but also you carry an emptiness. It's like being a vessel for something to fill it, and if creatures like desperation can claw their way, will you bet anything else of that magnitude of power may try? You also feel more connected to people of your kind right now. You're in the middle. You're at the citadel, the origin of it all. Of all people like you, would you like to reach out to any?
Of, Nightjars specifically? Or anyone we've met who seems touched by the void in some way?
Anyone touched by the void. Could be people like you, Nightjars, or it could be people like Esper, the imbued.
I need to talk through it for a sec.
Yeah?
Because Dr. Glass has never been particularly acquainted with fear. She always, since she was a child, fear was what made small-minded people dangerous. Fear was the enemy, the other. Her own everyday fears have lived in glass specimen jars for her to examine and be aware of. But what just happened as she limped hopelessly away from a dark entity the size of a mountain and felt, just as she had failed at every attempt, some sort of ethereal, bony hands clawing at her and suck her from reality into another space. The fear she felt in that moment and still feels is a wild, primal, overwhelming fear. Not fear of failure, not fear of being alone, but the fear that happens when reality tears apart. And she doesn't know how she got here. She doesn't know that it was Nihilus who saved her. She doesn't understand what happened just beforehand with her friends fighting that person whose name she barely knows while she tried to get them out. I think the first name she thinks is Felix.
Interesting. Interesting that you would pick Felix. I'm just curious, and this is the DM Wes talking. Why not Aunt Amalia?
Because she fears that Aunt Amalia is allied with Luminoth, that she's been sucked into something. She loves Aunt Amalia, but she doesn't know Aunt Amalia. I was going to say she doesn't trust Aunt Amalia, but she doesn't trust Felix. She just still feels like that's the only person who knows her at all, and vice versa.
You search this empty place. When Esper is here, she can see doors. She can move towards them. When you're here, you can feel what lies in the dark distance. And in this moment, you can feel all of it. You can feel all of those people who may be like you, and what might be staggering in this moment is there's surprisingly many of them. Present souls that are like this. You feel many of them just beneath you, somewhere underground. But as you listen for one that bears any familiarity, you can hear the overconfident whistling that perhaps would grind on your patience in the past. And that familiarity is Felix. You can travel your mind in his direction as you sense you're somewhere underground, but you don't sense your friends nearby. Instead, there is this opulent lounge chair and a fireplace and a drink in his hand hanging off the edge of the chair. And he doesn't know that you are present in this moment. And you can make yourself present, or you can observe. Which will it be?
And she finds that annoying whistle so comforting in this horrible moment, because she finally remembers what drew her to him in the first place, is that he's just so damned unlikable. And they were there in this hippie commune and she felt like she was this grumpy old sourpuss, and everyone was just full of unconditional positivity, and she was going to scream. And there was this kid who just didn't fit into that either, and was such a brat, and that was such a relief to her. There was someone who could be the cynic in the back of the class with her. And she observes at first, just to remind herself of everything that's happened since then.
Your grip on this moment, while it won't last forever, it'll last for now. As you see, he swirls around with a drink. He puts his nose into it to sniff its vintage. He is a man of refinement in the past, and though he might not have been given the opportunity around you, you remember this other world that somebody can be from. And he takes a sip, tasting the flavors of this drink as a door on the end opens. You hear it as if through his ears. You see as he turns his head, and you see Lady Evelyn Vanthorne walk through the door. She is this proper, slender, well-fit, confident matriarch of the Vanthorne family. She is the reason that you found yourself in a bunker miles away from the Citadel on the edge of life. Yet she walks into this room. Now, I'll ask you this question 2 more times. Once more, I will ask, do you communicate with Felix, or do you observe?
Then I'm gonna wait till you ask me the last time, baby, because I'm definitely observing right now.
Fair enough. You have one chance to impress me. If you fail, I don't care where the others might be. I have no interest in spending more time and manpower on keeping those fools alive in my cellar. Well, I better be impressive then, shouldn't I? I know exactly where they are. I can take you to them. And that dog that you employ, as powerful as he might seem, is no closer than anybody else but me to finding them. All you'll have to give in return is a seat at the Vanthorne's table? No, at the council. That's ridiculous. I can't even do that. But I'll deliver her to you, undamaged. She sits. She contemplates. You can see the machinations of political mischief turning in her head. And I will ask the question one last time. You don't have to communicate with Felix here. You don't have to at all, but you can. Do you, or do you still observe?
Felix hears in his mind. Tell her to let Hypatia go, and the doctor will come straight to her. Whatever time and place you name, Felix, I'll gladly take tea with the lady. I think she likes you, by the way.
You can feel the emotion within him, the grin to his face. You see that quirk as he swirls his drink. If this was a game of poker, that would be a tell. And without saying a word, without thinking a word back to you, he says, "Oh, and one more thing. As if that wasn't enough. Hypatia, if you send her out to be free, I'll ensure that Dr. Glass comes right to you.
You know, I was giving you a chance, Felix, to ask for everyone's freedom, on your own, to show a little growth, but that was probably foolish on my part. Baby steps.
As for the rest of them, I still would prefer some consideration on your plans, to rethink them. No, I think that's enough. I'll see to your seat at the council. That is no small feat. Not one new family has had influence there in almost the entire time this island has been producing output. As for Hypatia, I'll send her out. But if you don't deliver, I'll sick my dog on you, and then your friends, and then their friends, and then their family, and there will be not one person left who has ever uttered the name Lord Felix Royce. And your grip on this moment, it loosens. You may try to keep it tighter, to remain present in this scene with all of your might, but there's not a psychic muscle left to do so. As you float back to the present, seeing the moon overhead beside the spire, and Nihilus's face looking down at you.
Ah! Nihilus! Oh,
Wake up!
oh, where's my shoe?
Did you wake up? Not scream at me, dear.
Everything hurts.
That's not the most of our concerns. Look, we gotta get out of here. But we did it. We made it.
We did it. Everyone got out. You got... How? Ah, my head hurts. From
what?
What? From the...
Yeah, what happened to you? What happened? I saw something.
Didn't any of you hear me?
It worked. But by... So I think Soros, the arcane ingenuity it took in order to transport you from a particular singularity to another place and time at the same time. So it worked.
Oh.
I theorized about it for so long.
You did it.
Well, yes. I thought you knew.
No idea. I don't...
You did not feel like me?
don't know what it would feel like for it to feel like you, but I thought it was... I don't know what. Desperation, Luminoth, the Void, horrible... bones of shadow.
Bones of shadow?
Grasping me, pulling me.
That is more than God.
But thank you.
You're welcome. Are you...
Didn't any of you hear me? I told you to get out. That it was coming for me. Desperation. It almost brought at least the mountain down on all of us, if not all of reality. Things from the void are hunting me, and you damn fools brought me exactly where you knew they wanted me.
We should really clarify on the amount of communication that we use when we're saying desperation comes. I know I can be a bit of a prophet sometimes, but what does that even mean? Here, Forrest, listen to yourself.
Oh yeah, so it's probably just me being dramatic and hysterical, and probably just a hot flash that you could ignore.
I'm not saying that. Do not twist my words. I just didn't understand. Look, I got you out, did I not? Trusted your intuition.
Intuition. Alright, that's a loaded term. But you're right, Nihilus. Thank you.
Look. The rest... Esper's not doing well. Abigail is on the edge. They're looking for a cure. It's just you and me.
I'm still exhausted. I can still barely walk.
Right. Here's your shoe.
Nihilus hands the shoe, pushes it towards you along the cobblestone alleyway.
She looks like she's going to cry. She holds the shoe. Thank you, Nihilus.
Nihilus puts his hand on his chest. You can see through his clothing and fabrics that there's blood dripping down as he got shot by an arrow. Look, we're not in the best shape. Frankly, don't know where to go right now. I don't know this place, but we need to get something, help, intelligence, someplace. We need to scour around.
I'm not my usual fleet-footed self. Are you sure you want me slowing you down?
At this point, I'm worried if I'm slowing you down. The skull, it weighs on me.
I mean, Wes, I still have 3 levels of exhaustion, right?
You do. People aren't in good shape. And I think it's also important to note for everybody, the last time you were in civilization, you were wanted.
Are you able to walk?
Yes, thank you. I can walk, just not quickly.
All right.
I could turn invisible, but I think I pulled a little psychic trick while I was out, and I might have pulled successfully Van Thorn attention more to me, which is good, but since there was all the attention on me anyway from the cosmos.
You communicated again?
Yes, this is... I saw Felix. He is a hostage, but in the presidential suite of hostageness. That fucking brat.
Somehow I don't picture that. Felix being a hostage, it's just not his flair.
Well, no, he seems to have communicated that to the Van Thorns, because while they have him, he's, sitting by the fireplace with a brandy or whatever, negotiating rather than getting tortured.
See, that I can imagine.
But I think I'm going to be able to parley with Lady Evelyn herself.
She's a dangerous woman, you know.
My favorite kind.
Yes, how about we say those kinds of words after we've rested?
Nihilus, I'm in your hands for the whatever you want to do next.
I'm not in the best shape either. But look, I know from history's sake, the Citadel, the Meridial family, it was originally Keynestonian. The Saurus is Decimonia, but the religion, it is strong. It would have followed. There should be a temple around here somewhere. A safe haven we can venture towards. That's where we could lay low, take rest, let the others take their course. Later we could reinvade. This is the best idea I got at the moment. If we should hurry as he looks towards the street where activity is.
Yes, I think that's a splendid idea. I'm going to use my last 3rd level slot to make us both invisible for an hour.
In Nihilus's mind, when he looks around in the streets and he needs to find a temple, where would one build a temple of religion? One that is part of the founding houses that built this beautiful, elegant, restricted city. Why else, religion from Kieranstone is the strongest of all. It would conquer edges. Nihilus would believe it would be in the heart of the city, where the bells would ring the loudest and could be heard by the furthest around. So he will guess that a temple of Saurus from the Kieranstonian religion would be somewhere in the center of the citadel.
Temples, churches were often built in the center of cities, and so that's the way you go. And as you invisibly walk through these streets, you see the city is barren at this time of night. It's as if there's a curfew. It's quiet, and you can hear the brisk, occasional footsteps down an alleyway. You can hear the trash can getting knocked over by an animal in the distance. It's crickets and silence. And as you get towards the center, you find an old temple, a symbol of House Meridial on it. That is, of course, the family that hails from Kieranstone, and What you notice about it is it's boarded up, the windows and doors with boards of wood nailed to them. It wouldn't be difficult to find your way in. Is that where you're going to choose to spend this night?
Nihilus, holding Dr. Glass's hand, squeezes for a little bit and says, "Well, it's not what I imagined, but at least it'll be out of the eyes. I think you and I both agree we cannot trust anyone besides ourselves at the moment."
Remember the whaler? That was nice.
It was. I want a shower. I want fresh clothes. I'm hungry.
I wouldn't even care if they were mysteriously picked out for me by an enemy, creepily in my exact size.
Let's try to find our way in. Surely should be a window broken or a back entrance, something.
Yes, I think this is our best bet.
Nihilus, please feel free to roll any appropriate check here.
If possible, he would certainly want to roll religion for an understanding of how a church or a temple like this would be built.
Please roll religion.
Will do. For a total of 19 with disadvantage.
Can I, out of sight of the view, also get out my echo light and roll perception just to see if there's anyone around?
Please do roll for perception as Nihilus, as you sneak your way around the side of this building into yet another alleyway. You find a pedestal with a slat in it where the testimonium would take tithings for those who aren't attending church. And you know something that likely few except those from the testimonium would know, is that these doors can open. And as you reach your hand into that slit where a donation would be placed, you hook around the edge, you find a latch, you pull it, and you're able to, with what little strength you have, pull this marble stone out to allow for entry. And what was that perception check?
Just a 10.
On the inside, you hear the hollow echoes of drops of water and a tumbling stone, but it's the sound of vacantness to your knowledge. The sound of empty. And you step inside to this hollow, hallowed structure, and you find a place to rest, as we will go to Vander, Abigail, Trevor, and Esper. You're running through the streets. There's one place where you know you can get help, Vander. Just one, and it's not close to here. I'll need an athletics check from everybody, and it will be averaged. The DC is a 12. Except for Esper. Esper doesn't have to roll because she's out of it.
Got a natural 1 for 7.
Oh, no.
What's yours, Trevor?
I got a 17. And an 8, 9.
That's a 9. And you run with every bit of your might. There's no cabbage cart that pulls out from a corner. There's no, obstacle that comes in your way. It's just adrenaline and footsteps and speed as much as you can muster. And you start to hear the breathing from Abigail slow down to a snail's pace and stop. And at this moment, you know you're not going to make it. You know there's one other thing you can do with your training as a water stalker. What do you do?
Trevor, we have to stop. We have to stop for a moment. Abigail's not breathing.
Okay. What do we do? You got anything?
We would have to come to this. Shit. Okay, hold on, Abby. I gotta open her airway. I gotta... I need your help here, man. Okay.
Yeah, sure, man. I got you. Just, what, you need like, hold her steady or what?
Vander, I need you to roll a medicine check with a DC of 5.
Okay. That's an 8.
That was a close one, Vander. That was far too close for anybody sitting here right now, and I think anybody listening. With an 8, you know how to use this equipment. You've been trained in it. So it's not like it's something that's incredibly unfamiliar to you. You may have even performed this maneuver in the past in a pinch. And you take the knife, you make a small incise, you enter the tube, and suddenly you feel the lungs rise as another breath is taken, but even this one is belabored, and she still needs help. You can pick her up and keep running. That's going to be an athletics check with the DC of 12 for the two of you.
Okay.
And this is your last chance.
I got a 13.
Okay. Got a 21.
The end being so close, but the finish line is closer yet. As you run through the streets, cobblestones being pounded by your feet, as you go through alley to bridge to a door in a dark alleyway, one that's always left unlocked. You burst it open, and you see somebody who was sitting in a chair. You haven't met this person before, you just know that they're there with this large beard, this black hair that gets slicked back, and bottles of booze around him. Is startled awake. What is it?
I need your help now.
What's the problem?
The girl, she's got a salt lung. She can't breathe.
Salt lung! And he takes the bottles, he swipes them off the table. With your help, you put Abigail onto the table, and he runs over to one of his cabinets where he pulls out a needle, a massive one. He takes it, he runs over to Abby. He raises it into the air, and it strikes down into her chest as he plunges the medicine into it. And eventually, the breathing and the rise and fall of her lungs steadies, and though unconscious, she is breathing.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc.
Aye.
You gotta do this often?
Hell no.
Oh.
I thought I was going to be sleeping tonight. Apparently not.
Gonna be okay.
She's gonna be okay. You saw what happened to her chest. Classic salt lung. Started rising. Normally.
What about this one? And I look at Trevor and Esper. Anything you could do for her?
I don't think it's salt lung, but I'm trying to find a delicate way to put it. It might be some kind of withdrawal, but I just want to make sure it ain't more than that.
Let me look at her. And he makes some space on this large table to put down Esper besides Abigail, and you gently lower her head to the table as this doctor, somewhat stout, rough figure, goes over and peels open one of her eyes, taking a small candle and holding it over to see if her pupils dilate. And while this is happening, Esper, you've never been here for this long. What might be moments or minutes outside is much longer here. I wonder, in the first hour in this empty place, what would you have been doing?
Talking to herself to give herself some company or some grounding. Eventually, talking to themselves is going to bring forth a question or two. Looking in the minimal space that they have to look in, at this depiction of all of this death and somehow Esper surviving it. How does it happen? How does the salt take over the island?
Existing here is different from last time. Last time you felt more clear. Now, you feel something missing, but you know what that is. It's slow ether. You feel you need it. You feel sick, tired, pained. You have nausea. You're shaking and sweating. You have anxiety. You hear a gust down one alleyway that flutters a can off of a table, and it almost makes you jump.
In the bag and all of the vials that I threw, are there any intact?
You go to find the bag in the corner of this round room. Pick it up and you look inside. That orb still rests, though right next to you, somehow out of reach. And as you put your hand in, you pull out a vial of slow ether. Now, the moment you pull this out, flashes come to you. To some, maybe hot flashes. To others, a palpitation of the heart. You feel your whole body shaking. And you see yourself standing over bodies now. You see yourself standing over friends. I'm going to use, from now on, history checks to denote also your future and past vision. I think that would be appropriate. So please roll a history check with a DC of 12.
My exhaustion surely counts here. That is a 5.
Every body that flashes before you could be hundreds in a matter of a second. You swear you saw for a moment Dr. Glass and Nihilus and Trevor and Lady Evelyn Vanthorne and the Wanderer. They all blended together in a blink of an eye as now you hold and see the vial of slow ether in your hand.
Take the vial, smash it into their own palm. Turn the palm so that the glass that broke grinds. Think. Shakes their hands, and a mix of blood and what slow ether was on there tries to shed off. Esper wanted the wake up, not the ether.
You've taken slow ether before. You've gotten off of it before. And if one thing is made clear from your past experience, is when that cold, icy hand of slow ether has you in its grip, it'll hold on tighter than anybody else will. You know in this moment that this isn't a challenge for the day. This is going to be one of the hardest fights of your life. But you stave off the urge to take it.
I think in that moment, whether it was the anxiety or whether it was Esper's desire, one of the faces that flies by is the last time Esper was caught off by the visage of Sam Vanthorne, and how he was clearly going through it, and how clearly difficult it was. But all the same, even for that little prick, it can be done.
Now you have the vision of sight. Not everybody in your position gets to benefit from that. And in this moment, in this emptiness that is the salt-encrusted crystal that is the Citadel, you feel more in touch with your abilities than normal. Though the thing that can't leave your mind, and you know it's not going to let go of you so easily, is slow ether. So I ask you, is there anything you want to see, future or past, related to slow ether? Related to you or not?
I want to see if I can get out of it.
So many possibilities. You remember that time that you held that orb and you could see all of the branching paths that stand in your way? You can see those paths. Not everyone is present to you because clearly your state of mind bears an influence here. However, I need a DC of 10. History check.
Six.
You see, as you're sitting in a room, there's stains on the walls and on the floor. You're sweating, shaking. You hear the voice in your head, no one would want to be around me like this. So you isolated yourself. You see, as Trevor, he came in to check on you. And all you remember in a flash is a blink, and you see Trevor laying on the ground. He's not stabbed, damaged, bruised, but he is clearly no longer present. And you just see yourself standing over his body, shaking from the withdrawals.
I'm gonna find a way to fix it. I'll find a way. But I don't need this shit.
The bag throws across the room again, and it doesn't stop. You're now on a train that's running at full speed. Its engine will not quit, and it's going faster and faster as flashes of Trevor, Vander, Nihilus, Glass. You see the moment that you were the cause of their story ending. This goes on for what feels like days, and days lead to weeks. It repeats. Each time a similar story. You're trying your best. You're detoxing. You encountered one of them, and you lost control. You don't know if it was you, your power, or something else. And as you've experienced this now for the 1,000th, 10,000th time, Trevor, Esper is shaking as she awakens. Her eyes, they open suddenly. You see her looking towards the ceiling, and it was only at that moment, Esper, you felt you're free of that hell that you've been experiencing.
I punched the doctor.
The doctor, he gets punched. He tumbles over the table. He understands in this moment what's happening, and he recedes to the corner of the room, staying silent while you reune.
Whoa. Okay. Easy now. Hey. I'm here. Hey, look at me. I got you.
Where are we? Where?
We ain't no hole. We're someplace. It kind of gives a quick look around. It ain't perfect, but we're safe here. We're good.
Nihilus and Dora?
They're somewhere else.
They're on the way.
Are they okay?
Yeah, we'll run into him. They'll be fine.
What the fuck is that?
Don't mind me. I'll just be here.
A friend of Vander's, I guess.
He's a doctor. He's helped Abby out, and you were in a tight spot too. I think he helped you out a little bit.
Legally, I can't say that I'm a doctor.
Sorry. For the...
Not my first time. He grabs the bottle of liquor and takes a swig from it in the corner.
Hope you don't mind if I say motions over. In this case, a doctor is what a doctor does, so just... Thank you.
Bye.
How long have we been here? Or how long have we been out of the tunnel?
It ain't been too long. You don't have to worry. We was running out of that sewer. Something spooked everybody. I don't rightly know exactly what happened. I don't know if I'm the best person to ask. I think probably either Nihilus or Doc, when we see him, we can figure this out and we can figure out what we're going to do next.
There you go. Esper's going to lean over the table as she just vomits.
Vomits on the floor, and in this moment, I'm going to narrate for Esper a bit of what she understands here. Whether it's true or not, that's, for the rest of us at the table, we can make our assumptions, but for Esper, she's going to believe it more than somebody else might, that she has seen the death of her friends over and over again for, at this point, months. And especially with the role from earlier, you'll understand that this is inevitable.
There's, a rough wipe her mouth, and she sort of stays in a bit of a curled up position for a little while. There's shivering going on. She's got a cold sweat over their body. Doesn't look fantastic.
It's gonna be a while. This one, I've seen this before.
Okay. Listen, Esper, I ain't been able to talk to you for a hot minute. So, Are you okay? I didn't think that this withdrawal thing would be this,
I don't know how many times I've watched you die. But it wouldn't stop. And it's going to happen. And I don't know why, but I'm not going to die. But I have to watch you. I have to watch you die. And I don't know if I can stop. I don't think I can stop it.
Now, darling.
I don't know what to do.
It's okay. Hey, listen, man. It ain't up to you to know what to do, alright? Okay. What you seen, I can't be there in you. I can't see what you seen. But, I'm here. I'm right here. You see me. You see me, right? I'm here.
I know. I don't know for how much longer. I have to do something about it. I have to try, you know?
Esper, darling, I don't want to talk like you don't know what you're saying, because I know you do know what you're saying. But, at least in regards to myself, I can only ever speak for myself. He kind of gives a little tap to his chest. Tell me something I don't know, right? You see things a bit clearer than I do. Much clearer than I do. Stuff that ain't happened yet, that might happen, that is gonna happen. You see that clear as the nose on my face. But that... And it took me a while to come to this conclusion, but that's then. That's what's gonna happen. This is what's happening right now, and right now, I can still move. I can still feel stuff, and he gives like a touch on your shoulder. I can still do things. We can all do that. So as long as we can do that, as long as we can change stuff, we can change whatever's going to come up ahead. So I don't know if what I'm saying is really doing any good, or if I'm trying to convince myself more than anyone else, but while we can do stuff, we ought to do stuff.
God, I need some fucking ether. What I wouldn't do to just go back into that fire and get just one more little fucking vial of that shit. Do you have any water?
Yeah. And he goes over to one of the bottles, and they're all unlabeled, but he hands one that is containing water.
Snatches it. Downs it so quickly. It shouldn't have been able to even process that fast. Esper just emptied the bottle immediately. Poured whatever was left over her face. She's still got the sweats on her. Her face is quite rosy. But at least with the water, she just slumps down. Trying to find normal breathing again. God, I hate going into those spaces.
Well, I don't know. I'm no doctor. I really ain't. We might have got a bit ahead of ourselves, I guess. Just, we got a little too happy about what hasn't happened yet. We didn't realize that there was a whole road leading to the happiness that we still needed to cross. I might, after a quick sleep, take a look around the city. Dr. Glass and Nihilus, I don't know if they know where we're holed up at. I think it's best that we try and get everybody all rounded up.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. I'm pooped.
I'll keep watching.
I'm going to take one of those bottles, look for a chair or something in this room, pull across the floor to the table where Abby is laying down. Basically just going to be sitting in this chair, sipping on this bottle, and just keeping an eye on her.
You hear the coo of a bird outside the window. It's quiet for a city of this size. And we'll come back in a moment, but I do want to check in, even if for just a moment, on Dr. Glass and Nihilus. You found your way into this old temple. It's beyond opulent, But the people of the Citadel, they, by majority, have let go of organized religion long ago. The cobwebs and dust cover the pews and portraits and altars, and you find a safe spot that would also be easy to spot somebody coming in from. It's that upper balcony on the second level that overlooks the stage and the altar. If anybody were to enter, they would have to pass by your sight. And so there, where you are the most defensible, you're able to rest. As Dr. Glass, you sit over on one of the pews, Nihilus not far.
Well, I was hoping for sort of a display coffin. You know, with a silk lining.
I'm sure there would be better resting spots, but we should presume that something after us. We don't have the defensiveness of Esper. Isidora, I'm gonna say something. You look like shit.
I do, yes.
As do I. Do you have your healing kit with you?
Come here, yes.
Wonderful. Please, patch yourself up first. I'm gonna look for some firewood, some food. We're gonna spend the night here, and we should try to get warm. And Nihilus lifts his hand from his chest that is pressing on the bleeding, and he snaps his finger and he says, "Mirabilis digitus," and there's a small spark of flames that sets right in front of him on the wood itself, and then he twists his hand over it and says, "Flame dominato a te," and suddenly the flame itself becomes very controlled. He dominates it into that of a bonfire, but very dim, as there's not a lot of source in order to feed it yet, and it changes the color to pure black, so it doesn't give out much or any light at all for any else to see it. This should keep us at least warm. I'm gonna look for some more flammable objects, some food. I'll be back.
Alright, I'll be here. And she does, put another compress on her leg that got trapped under that boulder.
Nihilus, you head down the marble stairs. And there's flammable objects here. There's pews. Walking through these halls of the temple, you feel a familiarity. Saurus's temples are always built the same. You walk through here like you might have walked through your own. You see a statue standing besides one of the altars, and you remember, as if a flash coming to you, fending off an attacker, in desperation toppling the statue, but this one is right where it's supposed to be. What are you doing as you meander this familiar space?
Last time he was in the Church of Saurus, he was attacked. It's part of his history. He doesn't feel safe here, so he tries to do what he needs to, moves on. Looking around, tries to have a sense of what happened to this place. How long ago were there people here? Why is it abandoned?
Please roll investigation.
Will do. And of course, looking for food. For a total of 16 with disadvantage.
You find, let's say, 10 old rations. They're probably okay. Probably won't taste very good. You find in the donations boxes the total of about 40 scrip. You walk through this opulent temple, and you're observant to what's around you. You're looking for the story. Everything has a story, and this must as well. The dust, it's thick. You can run your finger, and it accumulates before you get very far. This place, judging by the fact that it's sealed pretty well, has probably been like this for 20 years or more. You walk behind the altar to where it leads to the back area of this temple, where the administrative space would be, where the kitchen would be, where sometimes you'll also find a small staging area, especially if the testimonium is putting up production. And with that roll, you hear the light crackle of gravel under a foot.
Terribly sorry. Is someone there?
There's a few more footsteps that seem to react to your voice. They run to a side and stop, and then there's silence again.
I don't mean harm. If this is your home, I do profusely apologize for intruding. I'm looking for shelter. I really don't mean any harm. I'm a priest. This felt like home, and I had nowhere else to go.
For the moment, there is just silence. The footsteps, they came from a little deeper in this back area. What are you doing?
Well, it must have been the wind. In case the wind gets hungry or thirsty, follow your nose. And he goes back to Isadora.
You make your way back to Dr. Isadora Glass and make preparations for a night here in a very well visible, defensible position.
As he walks back, when he goes around the corner, preferably out of eyesight from whoever was just there, he says a small prayer to himself as he holds his holy symbol vastly, and in an instant he casts the alarm spell to trigger silently.
When you hold your icon, it's not just cold to the touch, it draws the heat from your body. But you hear a ting as that alarm thread, it bridges the gap in the doorway. And you're able to make your way back to your fire. And we'll come back to this another time as we'll check on Esper one last time. Esper, at this point, it's late. It's dark. It's beyond the midnight hours. It's now reaching those very early twilight hours. While it's still dark outside, the sun hasn't yet come up, but the anticipation of the next day is there. What are you doing right now? What's around you?
Assuming by now, sleep has taken Vander.
I don't think it has yet.
I will note, Vander, I think you would take a point of exhaustion if you choose not to rest here, which is okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Through the night, because Vander has stayed up as well, they've done some light talking. The entire time, Esper has just been pacing back and forth in circles, going around the room, always in some sort of pattern, their eyes continually going and checking towards the door, stopping sometimes to listen, or their head snapping to the side because they think they might have heard or seen something. They're restless. Very.
And one of those times that your head snaps, there was something. You heard a stumble from the door where your host is sleeping, or was. And the door opens as he stumbles out. He looks like he's completely blasted. His hands are on his pants as if he's ready to unzip the moment he gets to the place he needs to go. Because, drinking all day, and then at night, you gotta go to the bathroom. Sometimes that's just how it works. And as he stumbles out, Esper, I'm going to tell you something new. This is not within your control in the same way that sometimes your vision is not within your control. But especially right now, in the midst of this painful time, you have no ability to do anything about this. Can you describe for me what it's like when you lose control and you find yourself falling into a vision?
It feels almost like in the blink of an eye, and yet the blink must have lasted a long time, as if the other side has always been there and they've always been partially in it, but they're only just now recognizing it. It's both disorienting and familiar. The familiarity doesn't bring comfort, it brings alarm more often than not. It makes Esper feel immediately uneasy. The hairs on their arms and the back of their neck are standing on end.
You've been through withdrawals before, but not when harboring such power. And it's a blink of an eye. It's a shudder of cold. It's a gust of wind that gives you goosebumps. And the host, who stumbles through the room, collapses on the floor in front of the door to the apartment, dead.
Hey. Come close, reach out, try to jostle his arm.
There's no breathing. There's no movement. The body is heavy. Vander, you're awake. You saw as Esper snapped her head in the direction of this host, and in a blink, he collapsed. But you don't see his chest rising and falling. You don't see breathing. He's gone instantly.
What the hell?
He's already cold.
I'll walk over to the doctor on the ground. I'm going to look him over. I mean, he's clearly dead.
Esper's gonna push him so that he's face up.
Roll over his body, and in this moment, Vander, as you inspect this body, he's gone. He's dead. There is a chill to his skin that perhaps happened too quickly for a warm body to have already cooled this much. And in this moment, Esper, as you take 1, 2, 3 steps, you see yourself standing over a body in the same way you saw yourself standing over a body 1,000 times today. And in this moment, I need you to add to your character sheet a new spell. It's called Siphon. However, while you are under the effects of withdrawal, its effects will be foreign to you. You don't know why it chose this person, but you can assume that that choice, for the moment, was out of your control. For now, it's just a note. Siphon exists to you, and you will come to know more about it, but that is only after you bridge the effects of withdrawal. Or before, but for the moment while you're not in control fully, so too is this spell out of your control.
And currently I just see a version of myself standing over him.
No, this is you. This is you today, present, alive. You feel your heart thumping out of your chest because this reminisces every single moment that you experienced in that vision. In the same way, they dropped dead with no explanation before you.
Oh no. It's already started to happen.
No, what are you talking about? You didn't do this.
I don't know if I caused it, but I think I saw it so much. something I did. I did something.
Hey, I don't think he could say that for certain. He's old. Look at all these bottles around. He's a drunkard. He's probably got a bad liver or something. It was bound to happen eventually.
Do I feel any... Like, I already feel weird. Do I feel an extra layer of weird standing over this man?
That feeling of when you would be thrust into a vision, have that cold chill, that blink, that you lost control. All of that preceded this moment. And while to everybody else, it might feel like he just dropped dead before you, you know better, because you know what it's like to lose control.
I think Vander can see the sweat already beading on Esper's forehead and dripping down their face. No, I did it. I did. I did something. She's gonna kneel down over this man and put her hand on his chest and press on it. Like they're trying to jumpstart it again.
Nothing. Could you please roll for me an insight check? If it's under a 13, nothing will happen, and we'll move on.
It's very under a 13. It's a 1.
There's nothing. You press on his chest, and nothing happens.
Yes, but I think he's dead. I don't think there's anything you can do.
What do you do? What do we...
Oh boy, this is gonna be a pickle here. Well, look, let's be calm about this. No one knows we're here, right? Oh man, Trevor is gonna flip his shit when he wakes up.
Oh god.
Look, no one. We could put him back in his room, right? Stay here tonight. Leave in the morning. No one needs to be any wiser about it.
All right, fine. She's gonna move around him, get behind him, and kind of hoist him by getting Esper's arms under his arms and lifting his torso.
Yeah, I'll help with that. I think the plan is to bring him back to the room he came out of.
Dragging him to the room, you find a stained bedroll on the floor. Not a man who lives in any sort of luxury, it's mostly squalor. Bottles, many empty of them, but you can drag him over to that bedroll and lie him down.
See, we'll leave him here. Someone bound to find him eventually. This isn't on you, Esper.
And I know it sounds like it shouldn't be right, and like I know how crazy it sounds and how crazy I sound. I did this.
It's okay. I believe you.
Oh boy.
Look, just take a couple deep breaths. Okay, everything's gonna be all right.
God damn it, you just helped us. Just gonna reach out for one of those bottles and take a quick swig.
You do. As the morning birds, they start to sing out the window, and the sun starts to rise in the sky, as the city begins to come back to life, as you stand in front of this body.
I'll take on the task of, waking up Trevor as best I can.
You step out into the main area. You see Abigail breathing steadily on that table. You see Bandit, who silently stands at attention watching you walk towards Trevor. And as the sounds of the tramways and people and city begin to rise around you, as the day begins, the new one, we'll end the session here. And we're also going to end the season here. And that's going to be it for now. Thank you everybody for playing some amazing D&D.
Don't be afraid of the dark. careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Don't let them rain on your spark. Keep it close to your heart. All of the pressure's gonna drive you crazy. Close your eyes to the madness. In the morning it's all gonna vanish. Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you. Not every light is gonna guide you.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land. Whole wrist covered up in ice. Dealership, never asked the price. I hit the mall and ball with my dogs. Yeah, I swiped it once without thinking twice. Cause this what I was made for. Man, I know this what I came for. On a big stage, couple thousand people, and they do whatever I say so. Have chicks hair color of the rainbow. Yeah, chains on me like Django. Be a long way from my tank low, cause my Tesla charge for them bank rolls. And I'm grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, remind me.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Don't let them rain on your spark. Keep it close to your heart. All of the pressure's gonna drive you crazy. Close your eyes to the madness. In the morning it's all gonna vanish. Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid, don't be afraid.
Yeah. Look, since I blew up, everybody telling me that I'm the man. Same people gave me the finger, they reaching out for me to give a hand. In a different city and my pills came, cause this tour don't happen, I feel pain. And the girl with me say she down for life, but she don't even know what's my real name. Just try to get what she came for. And ain't nothing I got safe though, cause when the money go wild, everybody get a piece. But it's looking like I ain't on the payroll. Got a big house made out of Play-Doh, and a plastic crown for my halo. But still a long way from my tank low, cause my Tesla charge for them bank rolls. And I'm grinding, money on my mind, and I'm headed to the top. I won't stop until I find it. Write my name in diamonds, but all these lights are blinding. I wonder, is it worth it? Feel like I'm losing my mind. Yeah, remind me.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby. Don't let them rain on your spark. Keep it close to your heart. All of the pressure's gonna drive you crazy. Close your eyes to the madness. In the morning it's all gonna vanish. Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every